Welcome back to Facebook. I'm Angie Garza, Director of Professional Learning and Educational Services at ROE 47, serving Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. And if you're joining us here on Facebook, that means that it's Thursday and it's time for another edition of Teacher Talk. So as we welcome in our fine fall weather, we are also welcoming some additional community conversations to Teacher Talk this fall. And, as always, to do that, I'm always so pleased to say good morning and welcome to my friend, colleague, and co-host, Stacey Dingus, who is our digital teaching and learning specialist. Hi, Stacey. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm excited about our conversation today. I think we're going to throw everybody a curve. We're bringing something very cool to our area and giving everyone a little teaser trail today. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good. So let's get going.
I think all of our listeners are going to be engaged and inspired by our special guest today, Mr. Joseph Green. But before we get to Joseph, we're going to actually also welcome to our Teacher Talk this morning one of our very own, Michelle Elmendorf. Michelle is a family support specialist with our Nexus program, and she is also very heavily engaged in our community partnership work, which, as our viewers know, addresses the mental health and trauma needs in our 3-county area. And so, Michelle, as I say good morning to you this morning, I was just wondering if maybe you could kind of help set us up for our conversations this morning. How does this relate to the work that we're trying to do in our 3-county area, and what are you excited about?
Hello, Angie and Stacey. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited about this as well. I think Mr. Green is going to be incredible for our communities. So part of the community grant that we have been working on talks about supports that we are trying to give to teachers and to families and to students to keep everyone engaged in our communities and to start having some of those important conversations revolving around mental health and trauma that maybe we're not having or should be. So I'm kind of excited about getting this going.
Michelle, you mentioned those important supports for our teachers, our families, our communities, but as we think about some of the upcoming work that we're going to be doing and special kinds of services and supports that we're offering, we're also addressing the needs of students. And a big part of that, meeting the needs of our students, is having some of those conversations about mental health, about trauma, about self-awareness, and as students look to navigate their way in this kind of chaotic sometimes world. Who are they and how do they fit in, and how do they continue to not only learn but grow? And so one of those very special opportunities that we have for students is our very special guest this morning, Mr. Joseph Green, who's going to be coming to our area to speak with our middle school students. And so, Joseph, thank you so much for being here. I was wondering if you might kick us off on these conversations by telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe sharing a little bit with us about your past and what's led you to this calling, this vocation in sharing your message.
Awesome. I appreciate that question and the lively introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Joseph Green, and I am a professional storyteller, educator, and I am a person in long-term recovery. And so what brings me to this work, and I've been doing this work for at least 15 years now, working with young people. I started an after-school creative writing program to help young people have a space to express themselves, which is a space that I desperately needed when I was a young person. And I have found through my training and through my education that as we seek to create young people who are resilient and capable of dealing with all the things the world is going to throw at them, it's important that they be able to articulate their feelings and be able to tell their story so that they can figure out what their purpose is here. And when we have young people who are strong in their purpose and can express themselves and can ask for the help that they need, we have young people that can say no to things that don't serve them and can say yes to things that will better their life and their experience in our community. So that's me. That's the work that I do. I am also a parent of 2. I have a 9-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. So speaking with parents and being in schools is something that's near and dear to me because we don't have a lot of training courses on how to be parents. And so this is a great way for us to talk with our young people and talk with one another and get some best practices from our lived experience.
You know, you talked a little bit about the importance of you know, talking to our youth and giving them a place to kind of express themselves and have someone recognize them and hear their voice. You know, in the world that we're living in right now, why right now do you think that this message is so important to our youth? I am recently out of the classroom being a junior high teacher, and I have a junior high student and a high school student as well as a parent. And I just find this interesting because it's a different world that these kids are living in versus the world that we were raised in. And you mentioned that you have younger children. I can't imagine the world that they're going to be raised in. So, you know, I'm interested to hear your feelings and your thoughts a little bit about why now that this message is so important to our kids.
Yeah, great tee up too. I love that question and in the context of it. It's interesting that you know, we have moments in our careers that, you know, can send us down a different trajectory. And I had one maybe 7 years ago, and it was in a middle school classroom right outside of DC. And I've been going in as part of their Pick a Poet program and doing poetry workshops. And I come in with a bright attitude and I'm cheerful because I know a lot of kids don't get excited when they hear the word poetry. So I have to be the excitement in the room. And the teacher in this one class said, you might want to tone your optimism down a little bit. These young people are very cynical. And I was like, that's the first time I've heard that in conversation, especially about young people who come from a relatively affluent space. And that's not to say that in that demographic there aren't their own issues, but you know, cynicism typically, you know, is associated with like looking around the world and being unhappy with the things that are around you, and then you become kind of negative and looking for the negative. And so instead of doing a workshop, I just sat and I talked to them. And I asked them a bunch of questions because if I was going to be effective in my work, I needed to know where this was coming from, because who's going to do poetry if you're sad and are, you know, maybe even giving up on things. And so I asked them, I said, when was the last time you enjoyed school? And many of them said third or fourth grade. And I said, well, what changed between then and now? And they said, well, somewhere around fifth, sixth grade, school became about just grades. And we don't get to do anything that we want to do or things that are about us. And I just thought that was a very profound insight and thought to myself, wow, you know, well, that's what this poetry workshop is. You know, this is what your teachers have sought fit to bring in and give classroom time for, because you are important. And you fast forward 7 years, now you have young people who have lived through a pandemic, which is a national trauma, right? No matter where you fall on what side of this or mass that or whatever it is, your young people have experienced something that has never been experienced by our generation. And that idea of being out of school and the world closing down, they have access to way more information than we did. They can pull out their phones, their iPads, swipe left, and they can tell you everything that's happening across the world. I had to sit down at the dinner table and my parents had to turn the TV on for me to be able to see the news. And that's how I learned. So their access to information is so is so much greater than ours. And I think that when you don't give them the tools to express themselves or process that, they only bring in the negative vibes from that. And so this workshop and the importance of being able to tell your own story and understand that you can cultivate the energy around you. You don't have to just do what everybody else is doing. I think it's more important now than ever, because we need our young people to be able to make these decisions when we're not there, because they are being influenced by so many things other than just our parents.
So Joseph, I'm going to put you on the spot here for just a minute. You mentioned poetry. Do you have some that you can can share with us? We would love to hear it.
Of course. I'll do an excerpt from a poem called For My Nephew. And we'll let it speak for itself. For my nephew, on his 11th birthday, I'm sorry for how incomplete this poem will always be. The sun will come out, not always tomorrow. At times it will rain for weeks. It will seem like lifetimes. Your uncle has known monsoons, I have faced them straight for you. So when I tell you, like your grandmother told me, that this too shall pass, you will know I mean it. You are so cool. Keep that. There's always those who do not care what the world says that cultivate cool. Be cooler than me. I ran stereotype first into the skewed acceptance of the popular kids. It eventually left me unraveled. I am now proudly all poetry and nerve endings. Be you. It'll be easier in the end. And that's just a snippet. There's more. So come out to the parent meetings and come out and make sure your young people are in attendance on the days that I'm there. I'll be doing poetry. We'll be using art as a lens to have these conversations. But I'm also a certified mindfulness specialist, and your young people will be leaving with skills that I hope that you will practice with them to help them deal with a lot of the stress and trauma of just being alive in the world the way it is right now. So there you go.
Well, that was, if we weren't hooked yet, we definitely are now. I can't wait to hear more and meet you in person. Michelle, before we end, will you tell us a little bit about Joseph coming to our area? Where he'll be at, and most importantly, how do we get to listen to him? How can we access this great message?
Absolutely. I am so excited and so proud to be a part of something so great. And I think that this is just the beginning of hopefully all the positive things that we can bring to the students in our 3-county area. Mr. Green is going to be here from Monday, October 17th with us until Friday, October 21st. And during that time, he's going to be speaking to various students, various grades at 10 different middle schools in Whiteside, Lee, and Ogle counties. In addition to that, any parents throughout the 3-county area that wants to hear what is my child hearing at school? What is this message? Who is this guy? And what is he all about? And what is all this hype about? We are having a parent presentation on Wednesday, October 19th at the Dixon High School auditorium. Any and all are welcome, and we would love to have you there. We also will have various people throughout the community to help with, any triggers for trauma or things of that nature, should there be an issue. So it's a very safe place, and it's going to be a great experience. And I hope to see everyone there.
Michelle, Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time. Joseph, that poem really solidifies my vision and my understanding. It really kind of hit my heart. You are truly a storyteller that was very moving, and made me really think about all of the things that our students and our young people in our 3-county areas are experiencing right now. We have students with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, experimentation with various substances. There's bullying. We have an LGBTQ plus population that's looking to find their own identity and place in the world. We have students who may be disengaged and disenfranchised. We have students who are really looking to find their voice. And so one of the important pieces that I took from what you shared and I wrote down here on my slip of paper here next to me is, in a world of uncertainty and hyperconnectedness, in a world of isolation, you are important. And so looking forward to that message the week of October 17th through 21st for our young people, and very excited to be able to invite parents in our 3-county areas to that special parent evening on October 19th at Dixon High School. So we are greatly looking forward to all that you are doing and supporting our young people with during that week. I can't wait to meet you and hear your message in person. So we will wait with breath and anticipation for the next few weeks until you get here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one last thing. The parents, please come to the meeting. There's this old saying that if you want to save the kid, you got to heal the parent. And I think that we all do the very best we can, and we do know what's best for our children. However, we don't know, and there may be things out there that can help. And so I'm not prescribing an answer to all your woes, but there may be some tools that can make your experience with your young people even more special. So please come out and listen. my life was changed by a workshop similar to the one that I will be sharing with you. And I think we can do some real good for your community.
I believe that too. I'll be there. You've got me. You've got me hooked. I'm looking forward to it. Well, that wraps us up, Facebook friends, for this edition of Teacher Talk this fine Thursday in fall of 2022. We hope that you have found our time together this morning to be beneficial. And as we wait for Mr. Green to come to our area, and as we wait for next week's Teacher Talk, we hope that you have an amazing Thursday, a restful Friday, an amazing fall-filled weekend, and we will see you right back here next Thursday for another edition of Teacher Talk.